grow up, you're going to find out that there are going to be tougher things than what you're going through now. You know, you can either face them and overcome them, you can quit. And guys lose their jobs. Kids in high school work really hard to get a straight A in math. They end up with a B. To get A's in social studies, they can't do math. What do? Well, even getting a B is a win. Football really is life. I know some of you guys are in the third grade, but it really is life in microcosm. The world and real life can be related to football, a very little world. Real life in that world. It teaches you how to overcome problems. Like, you know,
Well, thank you, Coach.
keep this thing up. I brought this so I can sit down for a minute. Because I have in any case, that's the best thing about football. It teaches you lessons that will stay with you for as long as you live. And it will help, you know, as people grow older, they meet problems. What do I do? What do I do? Football teaches you answers. So it's not like, is this an option or is that an option? It's, you learn when you play football exactly what you have to do in really tough times. Another thing about football that I love is it's the most intense team game that there ever was invented. If you have 11 players on offense and 11 players on defense, that's 22 guys. Now obviously, if you only have 13 players, a lot of guys are going to play both ways. But if you go to a school like Mentor or St. Ed's or St. Ignatius, those schools have 22 starting players. So it gives you a better opportunity to play than any other sport. And that's the reason you're playing at this level, or even at the 9th grade level. And I was associated with a program that had 49 graders, big school. And then you have to figure out how you get these all kids to play. So you're playing 9th grade football to develop, just like the minor leagues, so that you can play football at a higher level. So we had one defensive team we called the Chinese Bandits, 11 kids. Then we had another defensive team where some of the Chinese Bandits were on it. The kids who weren't playing another way, they played for the Merrill's Marauders. And then we had a third team, which mixed kids. And based on down and distance, on the sidelines we'd yell, Marauders, Bandits. And every kid was given a chance to play. And that's what you want to do when you want to develop football players. You can't really do that in baseball. Baseball is dominated by the pitcher. Basketball is dominated by the best two players. Football is the ultimate team game. There is no such thing as a decoy route to a receiver. The best quarterbacks in the world have never been able to complete a pass sitting down. If you don't protect them, they're not going to complete a pass. If you watched the Cleveland Browns last year, you have been taught that already. If you're a receiver, you got to get the ball. If you're a quarterback, you have to have receivers that get open and receivers who can catch. You know, there are guys. How many of you would like to play a position where you touch the ball every play? Every play. Well, that's what the center does. You want to be a center? But you know, when Paul Brown started the Cleveland Browns, the first guy he brought in was Frank Gatsby. His center's in the Hall of Fame. When he started the Cincinnati Bengals, the first guy he drafted was a center, and he's in the Hall of Fame. It all starts with the center. And now, in the shotgun and the pistol, where the center's got to not only snap the ball, but block, you got to be a pretty good football player to play center. It all starts there. You got to remember that. There is no unimportant position, because in football, one guy messes up. You don't move the ball. Who's the best running back the Browns have? Nick Chubb, right. Does Nick Chubb score a touchdown every time he runs?
No.
Yeah. Sometimes he doesn't get 2 yards. You see, you could be Jim Brown or Nick Chubb, the greatest running backs ever. If the offensive line doesn't give him that crease, that little bit of daylight, it's going nowhere. That's why there are a lot of runs that Jim Brown had, or Gale Sayers had, or Marion Motley, guys you never heard of. They didn't get a yard because the offensive line has to get him that yard. Just the crease, a little bit of daylight. Then they can do tackle, it doesn't matter. You're important. When you play high school football, you're going to find out if you're a lineman. There are games where you're going to have to line up against a guy. You might be 205 pounds and the biggest kid on your team. You line up against a guy who's 250. You do look at the coach and say, Coach, I want to go home. You have no choice. You're your team's biggest defensive end. Like, that's scary. Playing a really big offensive tackle. What do? You do what you do in every position in football. You use technique. How do I handle this guy? Well, you take your inside shoulder and your inside forearm, you cut his shin, and he falls down on you. You got a neutral line of scrimmage, linebacker comes, makes the tackle. There's a way. You got to find that way. There's always a way. And what are you going to do? You've got to play against that kid. You're not going to quit. You might be playing for the conference championship. You've got to do your best against that guy. You might be playing in the state finals. You've got to do your best against that guy. One last thing I want to tell you, because I'm all sure you want to go home and have lunch. There is a saying among the Jesuit Catholic Church order, Society of Jesus, called "Be a man for others." You read all the Gospels, everything Jesus ever said or did. It's essentially don't be selfish. Think about other people, only other people, and that will take care of things. You know, how many of you ever heard of St. Paul? Remember St. Paul? St. Paul, the apostle to the Gentiles. Well, in 67 AD, he was in prison, and he was about to get executed. Just 34 years after Jesus was crucified. Now, he heard the voice of God. He was the apostle of Jesus. But he was afraid. The only apostle around that visited him was St. Luke. So if you look at Paul's epistle to St. Timothy, he asked Luke, get St. Timothy, get St. Mark. I don't want to die alone. I'm afraid. I don't want to die alone. And that tells you something. He was a saintly man, an apostle. He'd spoken to God, but he needed people who were going to be men for others, for him. You know, after the Second World War, Korea, Vietnam, they always interview these Medal of Honor winners. What caused you to do it? Why would you risk your life? Why? Was it for apple pie and your mom or the flag? They did it for the other guys they were with. They risked their lives for other people. That's how you have to play football. It's not about you. It's about the other 10 guys. You're not going to let them down. No matter what happens, you just say to yourself, I'm not going to let them down. Now, you've all heard about Jesus, right? He was the Son of God. Jesus, right? Well, in 33 AD, he was in a place called the Garden of Gethsemane. And he was about to be crucified. He brought 3 apostles, Peter, James, and John. And he said, he was afraid. He was the Son of God, but he was afraid. He knew what he was going to have to go through. Being scourged, nailed to a cross, tortured, essentially. He knew what was coming, and he was afraid. He was praying to his Father. He asked these 3 apostles, this is the Son of God. Please stay with me. Please pray with me. You know what they did? They fell asleep. They let him down. They weren't a man for others. So you got to understand, you can't ever let your teammates down. Never. No matter what happens, no matter how bad this other guy's kicking your butt, you stay in there for him. And all these things make football